What's up, you freaky folks? My name is Nick. Welcome to my channel, where I cover all things horror. Whatever you're watching, I'm making videos about. And if you're subscribed to Amazon Prime, then you are already well aware it is a massive wasteland of garbage movies. It's basically my streaming Disneyland. But while putting together a list of the best horror movies that are currently on Amazon Prime, I've made this other list about movies that did not make the cut, but I still think they are 100% worth talking about. Now, I'm talking about movies that are currently streaming in the US, and we're just going off of my opinion here. Oh my goodness, someone sharing their personal opinion on a YouTube channel? Who would allow such a thing? Now listen, I'm loosely calling these underseen horror movies because I know how the horror community works. I've been a fan since I was 7. We are rabid. We gobble up anything and everything that we can get our hands on. So I know you're gonna be like, I've seen these a million times. These are not underseen. But listen, these are movies that I would say deserve some more love, at least just a little bit. So go with me, okay? Okay, let's talk about 13 underseen horror movies that you should watch on Amazon Prime right now. Number 13 is Evidence, a crime thriller that's part found footage and part murder mystery. A pair of detectives investigate a massacre that occurred in the desert of Nevada. Using footage recorded by the victims during the incident, they try to piece together what happened. And what's going on in this footage, you might ask? I'll tell ya. A group of people on a bus headed towards Vegas break down when they are attacked by a masked welder with a blowtorch. This movie is brutal without getting too graphic, and I really like this concept of detectives using footage left behind at the scene to piece together what happened. I'm kind of surprised this hasn't been done better since, but overall, it's a kind of uneven movie, and the twist at the end, or the reveal, whatever, it's not gonna work for everyone. So this should be my opportunity to say, all of the movies on this list, they're gonna be hit or miss, but if you're looking for something new or something you haven't watched in a minute, well, that's what I'm here for. Number 12 is The Barn, a Halloween-themed throwback slasher that's a bitchin' good time. Set on Halloween night in 1989, a group of friends on their way to a concert are sidetracked at an abandoned barn where 3 evil entities rise: a boogeyman, a scarecrow, and a jack-o'-lantern man. This is a very basic slasher movie, but it checks off all of the boxes. The villains are cool, the kills are aplenty, and it doesn't just prey on our love for 80s horror. I think this one actually captures that kind of fun that keeps us coming back to these movies over and over again. If you need a Halloween movie to watch, put this at the top of your list. Number 11 is Dead Kids, also known as Strange Behavior, and I know this one definitely has its following, but I still think a whole bunch of people need to experience the bonkers madness that is this movie. Filmed in New Zealand but set in small town Illinois, the young people are either being killed by a masked maniac or subjected to strange experiments at the local university. I would suggest going into this one as blind as possible because it is such a ride. You will either take it seriously and have a scary good time, or you won't take it seriously and you'll have a cheesy good time. Either way, you gotta watch Dead Kids. Number 10 is Sunchoke, a psychological slow burn horror about a disturbed woman named Janie who is recovering from a mental breakdown by being kept mostly inside with her caretaker, played by Barbara Crampton, a woman who subjects her to bizarre holistic treatments. As Janie becomes obsessed with another woman, she veers towards a violent relapse. This is how I would describe this movie. It is the most A24 horror movie not made by A24. It's graphic with its sexuality and nudity, and I know that will put some people off, but I'm totally here for it. And here's the thing, I think a lot of people are gonna reduce this to some boring, slow, psycho bitch movie where nothing really happens, but I have to say what I really enjoy about it is that it explores this real female character who can absolutely lose it, just like the worst of them. Obviously this isn't gonna be for everyone, but I think you can tell based on my description whether slow burn psychological indie horror works for you or not. Clearly, it definitely works for me. Number 9 is The House Where Evil Dwells, an 80s supernatural thriller about an American family who moves to Japan and find themselves living in a house haunted by a woman, her lover, and her husband. And these deadly spirits are doomed to repeat past horrific events. This one is like the Amityville Horror set in Japan. It's another sexual one, so there's your warning. But what I liked about it while I was watching it is that the ghosts aren't used like they normally are in horror films. They regularly possess the characters and have them doing crazy stuff, and they're physically moving things around a lot. It's just different, and I appreciate that. But I will warn you, this one is mostly just a cheesy good time. Number 8 is Sleep Stalker, and you've probably guessed by now, not all of the movies on this list are good, but this is the most blatant bad movie that I have to recommend to you guys. This 90s slasher is about a serial killer known as the Sandman who is resurrected into an actual body made of sand, and he's gonna have to track down his one victim who got away if he wants to keep his supernatural form. This is such a ripoff of A Nightmare on Elm Street, and it is so low budget and cheesy 90s, but it also is full of the cheap thrills us slasher fans live for. Number 7 is Yellow Brick Road, another weird one, so stick with me. In the 1940s, the inhabitants of a small town all disappear in the nearby forest. Cut to 2010, and a film crew decides to head into the forest to try and uncover anything they can about this unexplained event. As they follow the trail of the Yellow Brick Road, they begin experiencing strange events that drive them all mad. I really like the concept of this movie because it's like a horror film take on the Roanoke colony mystery. Don't expect a whole ton of answers, but if you like movies like The Blair Witch Project, you should give Yellow Brick Road a shot. Number 6 is Last Girl Standing, a psychological horror film about a young woman who survives a massacre straight out of a slasher film. Years later, she tries to move on with her life when she feels like she is being stalked and targeted by another murderer. I'd suggest looking into this one, maybe even have it spoiled for you so you're not disappointed by the ending. It's another one that I like just for its concept alone, like what happens to the final girl after the horror film. Watch Last Girl Standing to find out. Number 5 is The Redeemer, Son of Satan. Calling all slasher fans once again. I have a soft spot for those movies in the mid to late 70s that helped build the subgenre, and this one came out just before Halloween, so if you, like me, are a diehard, you're gonna want to check it out. 6 people are invited to a 10-year high school reunion, but when they arrive, they find they are the only ones in attendance. They become trapped in the building as a killer who regularly changes disguises picks them off Agatha Christie style. You know the rules of the slasher. You sin, you die. And I think this is the most obvious entry to really set the narrative, and I do have to say, I think it's really more in line with that sort of moralistic perspective and not really commenting on it the way maybe it should be or would be today. So while this movie might be homophobic and problematic in all sorts, it also does feature one of the more prominent lesbian characters that I've seen show up in one of these movies. I'm not even saying this is like one of the best slasher movies. The kills are weak and the killer is goofy, but like I said, if you're a diehard and you like exploring the beginning of the subgenre, you might want to check this one out. Number 4 is Mirror Mirror, a supernatural teen horror about a mother and daughter who move into a house with a creepy old mirror. A creepy old mirror that drips blood and has supernatural powers. As the goth daughter is bullied at school, she harnesses the dark powers of this mirror to exact her revenge. I recently discovered this one, and I cannot believe it took me this long to watch this movie. It is such a good teen horror movie as it explores the social hierarchy of high school, and I always enjoy that. Even though supernatural horror isn't like my favorite, this one is not afraid to bust out the practical effects. So if you, like me, are late to the party, get on it and watch Mirror Mirror. Number 3 is Malevolence, one of the more underrated indie slashers. Malevolence is set in 1999, and it's about a group of bank robbers and a pair of hostages, a mother and daughter, who meet at a house in the middle of nowhere after a heist goes horribly wrong. But things go from bad to worse when a masked serial killer begins attacking and killing them. The dialogue and acting in this movie, not that great, but I'll forgive it because I find it genuinely disturbing. This movie is really about a serial killer who abducts a kid and like trains him to be a serial killer as he grows up. It is so messed up. The true crime fan in me just finds there to be something fascinating lurking behind the mask, and that's what draws me to this movie. If you enjoy this, they also have the prequel Bereavement, which stars Alexandra Daddario, and it features one of the most gruesome and disturbing kills I have seen in my time as a horror fan. Let me know if you know what that is. They did have the third one on the service, but it was removed before I could watch it, so I can't speak to the trilogy as a whole, but Bereavement would be my favorite so far. Let me know what you guys think of these movies. Number 2 is Society, and this one is quite the doozy. I know it has gained more popularity over the last couple of years as it has become more easy to access on streaming, but I still think more people need to be scarred for life by this one. Bill is a teenager who believes there is something very wrong with his parents and the elitists in their wealthy community. And that's about all I'm gonna say about this one. First rule of society, you don't talk about society. What I will say about it is that it is a body horror movie, so prepare for things to get gooey. And as a poor individual with a mountain of debt, I like the way this comments on the excessiveness of 80s commercialism and what the rich will do to remain in power. Number one is the Poughkeepsie Tapes. This controversial mockumentary horror follows the investigation of a serial killer after a series of snuff films is uncovered, chronicling one psychopath's history of horror. This movie initially played at festivals in 2007, but wasn't released on home media until 10 years later. I'll tell you, I woke up really early one morning. It was like 4 a.m. and I couldn't sleep, and I thought, I'll watch the Poughkeepsie Tapes. And yeah, it disturbed the actual fuck out of me. I can see why this gained so much attention back in 2007 at the height of the torture porn era, because this is probably the most messed up of them all. The low budget will probably make or break it for most viewers. It's either gonna feel real and scary or poorly made and schlocky. Personally, I think this is an underrated gem that will give you nightmares. What did you guys think of these movies? Let me know what your thoughts are on them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I greatly appreciate it. Feel free to follow me on Instagram if you're interested, subscribe if you would like, and if you do, hit that bell so you can catch all future uploads. Again, I'm gonna plug it. I'm working on a video on the best horror movies on Amazon Prime just in time for Halloween, and I'm gonna tell you right now, it's gonna be a long one. I'm doing a top 25 because there are just so many horror movies on Amazon Prime that I just love to talk about. I've already done like 4 videos. It's just, there's so much. So gonna be good times. Stick around, stay tuned. Got more fun, spooky stuff coming your way. Thank you again so much for watching this video. If you make it to the end of the video, you get an extra from the bottom of my heart kind of thank you. That is it for this video, but I won't stop you from watching another.